Yeah, I'm Jeremy Garside. I am up next. I'm Jeremy Garside. I'm from the Tees Valley Wildlife Trust. I'll have to say, before I start, it's a bit intimidating up here for speakers because we've got a massive auditorium, very bright lights, and a huge amount of tech. So it doesn't feel like the normal type of conference we present to. I'm also acutely conscious that I saw the Chuckle Brothers on this stage once. And I even thought about bringing a ladder instead of a presentation today. Anyway, yeah, so this is the peak of my career now, and it's all downhill from here. So I'll see if I can make this work. This was the question that I was posed by the Nature Partnership to talk about today. And I'm used to giving a really positive presentation about the great things we're doing on Teesside. And this sort of niggled me a bit, and I thought, I'm not sure I want to do this. I might find somebody else who can give a talk about what is up with our wildlife. And it got a bit worse when while I was thinking about that, my phone pinged, and I got a question from my sister, which was almost exactly the same thing. She said she'd been out for a walk in the countryside, first sort of early summer walk, and she said it was just dead. There was just nothing. She doesn't live on Teesside, so I mean that is part of the problem. But there just seems to be a huge decline going on in loads of things out there, and in spite of the efforts that we're all putting in to trying to make the environment a better place and more nature friendly. So I went away to sort of look into, well, I actually messaged my sister straight back and I said, it's the problem is we're just losing insects. And all these things, the bats, the summer birds, swallows, swifts, they all just eat flying insects. So I messaged her back and said, it's the loss of flying insects. But then I thought, that's not enough. I've got to go a bit beyond that and think, why? Why are they going? And also that it's not just about wildlife, and that's the message I really want to get across to the politicians and the government representatives and local authorities and everybody that could do something about this. Because it isn't just that nice walk in the countryside that's going to get spoilt if we don't have any wildlife left. These things actually pollinate our crops, and we've seen huge rises in the cost of food recently, but just think how much worse it's going to get if we start to lose all our pollinators as well. And also, it's not just a rural thing, because I think sometimes we've been a bit smug on Teesside because we've got fabulous urban wildlife, and a lot of the problems out there have been in farmland and rural environments. And very often our urban nature reserves like this one, Portrack Marsh, right at the centre of the Tees conurbation, seem relatively safe and secure. But I decided when I looked into this that there are three things that are really hitting our flying insects, our insects in general, and eventually will impact upon us. And a little advance warning, none of these are climate change. So there's climate change going on. There's a fourth whammy as well. And that seems particularly to hit moths, but a lot of flying things can move around and adapt to climate change relatively easily. So the first one is the neonicotinoids. You might have heard of these. They're sort of massively destructive chemicals that kill all sorts of invertebrates and were introduced into farming. They were introduced thinking, they'll be very specific and they'll only kill the bad stuff and they'll leave all the good stuff and we'll be all right, and they're incredibly effective at killing bad stuff. But when we realized that, or when society realized they were killing bees as well and all sorts of other flying insects, they banned them. So that's all right. I mean, they're banned now, they've gone, then they're no longer causing harm. Although once you start researching things, you actually discover that a lot of the big agricultural businesses that bought loads of this stuff in Europe are now flogging it off to the third world where they haven't been banned yet. So there's some scary stuff about that. But anyway, for the last 5 years, they've been banned until I discovered that actually, no, we're still using them, and we're using them more than ever. You can buy them over the counter in Pets at Home. And they're incredibly effective at killing fleas in your house. I used some completely unwittingly. I didn't realize that this is what they were, to treat some fleas on my dog. And everything died instantly. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. But it really isn't, because not only are they on our pets and we're using them more and more, sometimes even when our pets don't have fleas, and then of course we wash our pets, or our pets jump in ponds, and these things get into our watercourses. And scientists have discovered that the products themselves and the breakdown products from these chemicals are actually starting to kill off life in our watercourses downstream of treatment works. And there's no means of stopping that without actually banning their use. The next impact, the next whammy for our wildlife is street lighting. And this is an awkward one, because we thought we could reduce our huge electricity bill and carbon costs of street lighting by making them more efficient using LED lights. But research has shown that these LED lights have a huge amount of blue light within their light spread, and they're actually pretty intense as well, as you can see from this picture, the street light outside my house. Incredibly intense and bright. And they're on, when I was a kid, they used to turn them off at midnight, but now they leave them on all the time. And it's not just these local authority lights, but also a lot of my neighbours all seem to think that it's a great idea and makes them feel secure if they put massively bright lights all around the garden all the time as well. As a society, we seem to have become addicted to light, and it's having a huge impact on wildlife, because it just doesn't know the difference between day and night anymore. There is something we can do about this, though. They're very easy to turn on and off, apparently. So we can work to create areas of darkness, even despite the LED lights. You can put filters on them, you can reduce the amount of blue light in them, and in some parts of the country they've actually been putting quite a strong red filter on them, so that you get a glow that is far less harmful to things like bats as well as to invertebrates. So that's something we can think about, but I'm not blaming the local authorities here. They really tried to do something about climate change with these lighting and reduce the bills for all of us. And actually, all of a sudden, there's this side effect, and things have been made worse. It's something we need to sort out collectively. And then the last thing is the weed killer, the third impact. We've become addicted to this stuff, to glyphosate. It's used everywhere. And Martin Allen, who I presume is out there somewhere today. Every other presentation I've had at a TVMP conference, I've had a picture of Martin pointing, but I couldn't find an appropriate one here. So, but Martin has done some work on weed killers and the amount of use they get, particularly here in the Tees Valley. He's written to all the local authorities and found out how much glyphosate they spray around the place every year. And Martin's concern was particularly because they kill wildflowers, of course, as well as killing off weeds. And you'd think, well, they're very specific. The instructions all say, oh, they kill weeds, but they don't kill anything else, so you'll be all right. But increasingly, we've discovered that glyphosate is actually an antibiotic. It's actually, the makers know it's an antibiotic because they've put patents on it because it's so effective as an antibiotic. And it kills bacteria. And increasingly, I don't know if people have heard about this, but we're increasingly understanding that our gut bacteria plays a massive role in our mental health and our physical health and dealing with obesity and things like that. And it's the same for the bees. And this pesticide is getting into bees, it's killing off their gut bacteria, and it makes them confused, and it reduces their ability to fly and to navigate, and it also affects their resilience to disease. It could be doing the same for us. We could discover that's part of the problems we have as well, in terms of physical and mental health. So watch this space. These things aren't as safe as we think they are, and we could do far more about trying to reduce their use. And the driver for all of these things is not, obviously they're nice, convenient solutions to cleanliness, to safety, and all the rest of it. And we've created a sort of urge within society to have the place clean and tidy and mown and weed-free and nice and bright all the time. And as citizens, we're demanding that. And I know that the local authorities want to reduce their use of herbicides particularly, but they just get this bombardment of comment from the public that the ground isn't being managed and there are weeds growing here, there and everywhere. So this is for us to deal with and to turn into a positive situation and to reduce these things from our natural environment, to allow our invertebrates to thrive and to allow nature's recovery to happen. So sorry for being so negative, but I really think we can do something about this. An awareness of these problems is a critical stage of coming about solutions. So I'm throwing that out there to you today because you're the people that will go and increase awareness of these issues and help make this change happen. Thank you very much.